Joe Siecinski, how awesome it is to have you on my show. This is so cool. So for those of you who don't know, this is one of the top 10 business coaches in Silicon Valley. I met him about 8 or 9 months ago through a unique set of circumstances. And Joe, I just really, really love that you're here. So let's get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself and how you, I know you have
first, Doug, I want to say thank you and your listeners for allowing me to be here today and spend some time with you. It's just an honor and privilege to be here. I love everything that you're doing. Your book is awesome. It's changed so many people's lives. So I just want to express my sincere appreciation to you and everything that you do for the universe.
Well, I really appreciate that, Joe. I guess we're just a mutual admiration society. Well, you have a really interesting background because you started in technology before people even knew what technology was. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your former life and then a little bit about what you do today?
Well, I go back. I was born in France, raised in Missouri, grew up in South Korea, and live in Silicon Valley, the most expensive place on the planet. When I got into technology, it was before satellites and before Windows and DOS 2.11 was the thing. And that's kind of where I started, and just watching how technology has changed the world is just amazing. And looking at where we're going is just it almost boggles my mind on how things continue to evolve. And I believe it's for the good of the planet. So we're making progress.
Good. So what do you do today?
Well, now I run a company called brainSHARE Business Mentors. So when I retired in 2007, my goal was to go buy an island, but all my investments were in real estate. And I don't know if you remember what happened in 2008.
Oh yes.
and all my real estate went underwater. So I kind of looked around and said, well, what can I do to help? And I was walking down El Camino Real here, and I'm looking at all these businesses that, going out of business, and I'm like, man, what can I do to help? So that's when I started the consulting business. And building a business like building a house, and so many businesses just don't understand that.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of how I started. Is I wanted to contribute to the goodness of the universe and help people.
And you're doing it in spades. So you are one of the most energetic human beings I've ever met, and you love life. But what I'm really curious about is, what do you enjoy most about what you do?
Well, you see so many people out there. I mean, you run into them all the time that are grumpy or whatever, and their business isn't going the way they want, which means their personal life's not going the way they want. And everything's just, they don't have a good path to go down, or they're looking for that path. And what motivates me is when I see somebody go, oh, I know what my goals are now. Actually putting a plan in place to achieve your goals is so much easier when you know what the goal is.
There you go. Like I tell people, not having goals is like trying to sail a sailboat across the ocean without a compass.
Exactly. So, and I've been setting goals since I was 14 years old. And what's kind of interesting is I've never achieved one of my 5-year goals. And the reason is they change.
Right.
That's okay.
That's right.
Setting the goal is just about getting momentum and moving in a direction.
That's right. And I found that too, that having a goal is important, but no goal is ever locked in concrete. You can always change your goals.
Whose goal are they? They're
That's
yours.
That's
you can
right.
change them whenever you want. It's okay. You don't have to get locked in. Well, what happens if I don't achieve my goal? I'm going to be rejected. You know what? Get outside of your own brain. It's set a goal, go in that direction. They're yours. You can change them whenever you want, whenever it's right, and you'll know it.
So what is it that's unique about your approach in helping entrepreneurs get their businesses off the ground?
Well, I don't focus necessarily on the entrepreneur, especially in the early stages, because they're still kind of figure things out. But what makes us unique is that building a business is like building a house. And we start with that foundation. And that foundation is goal setting and then time allocations. Time is our most valuable asset, and how we utilize it will determine the success of our life and our business. So many people don't allocate time where it needs to be allocated to achieve their goals. When they start doing that, the world changes for them.
How do you help people with their time allocation? How does people decide where they spend their time?
Well,
I mean, it's better than looking at TikTok, I guess, right?
oh, well, yeah, or TikTok or Facebook or whatever else. Well, and so I utilize some NLP techniques, some neuro-linguistic programming techniques called modalities. So I have the client identify their modalities that they need to be. So like if you're a business owner, you might have to be the CEO and the team and the sales and the marketing and the finance and the operation. Those are all different modalities. So you identify what, and then you got your personal modality, maybe kids, maybe, the first thing I put on my calendar is date night with the wife. that's most important. And then identifying those modalities, and depending on where you're at in your business, what percentage of time do you need to be spending in that modality? And then what tasks need to get done in those modalities. So you actually put together a calendaring system based on where your business is today to achieve your short-term goals. What does it need to be? And those percentages will change as your business evolves.
This sounds like it's a super logical, organized way to put your business life together.
Well, it's simple. It's not easy.
What makes it hard?
Well, the interruptions is one big thing. One of the things I tell my clients to do is turn off your email for that. You've got that 1 hour time block that you're wearing your CEO hat, or you're wearing your marketing hat, or you're wearing your CFO hat. Whatever hat you're wearing, stay in that modality for an hour, and then take a break to switch modalities.
Got it.
And then in that break, you can, okay, let me check a couple of emails. Don't get tied in that, because you can be checking emails all day. Oh, by the way, this is my favorite hat that you probably, that some of you might be wearing, the janitor hat. If you're running a small business, you probably understand that one.
I do. I love that. I love the hats. Where do you come up with that idea?
Well, it's a modality. It's like wearing a different hat.
Right.
It really is, because if you're thinking like a CFO and you're trying to do marketing, you're not going to be good at it.
You've got to stay focused on task.
Well, not only on task, but on modality.
Got it.
So let me give you an example. I was doing some of my marketing, and I'm like, what am I doing this for? What am I, and then I'm like, okay, as a marketing VP, my job is to set appointments. And what I actually did is every time I set an appointment, I reached in my pocket and gave myself $20. Now, that sounds stupid, but it worked. Wow. Because it put me in that my only job is not to close the sale, is to set the appointment. That's marketing modality. If you're trying to close a sale when you're supposed to be marketing, you're going to lose.
Got it. Interesting. Well, let's switch up a little bit. You were very complimentary of my fourth book, De-Escalate, and there it is.
There it is. There it is.
But I'm really big on a different kind of listening, and I'm wondering how you work with your clients and how important is listening and what you teach and what you practice.
It's critical. If you don't understand what someone is trying to communicate, and I use the word communicate, not what they're saying,
right?
Because like your book talks about, which has helped me so much, is you're listening for the emotions, not necessarily the words. And once you understand that aspect of things, the world changes, because then you're really communicating. You're not just talking at each other. And I see that so much.
Right.
People talking at each other.
What I hate to promote my own book, but before you read my book, how do you learn to listen? Was it just trial and error? Did you?
No. So back in my HP days, I was a sales guy.
Hewlett Packard, right?
Yep. And we had some of the best sales training ever. And we did a lot of question-based selling. So you're asking a question, you're listening, you're actually taking notes on what you're hearing, not just their words, but how their nonverbals. And this is where I learned nonverbals communicate 55% of things. Words, tonality is 38%, and words are 7%.
Right.
So words are almost they're not nearly as important as the emotion, the nonverbals. Nonverbals tell you all so much more than words ever will. And that's what I learned about listening, was not about listening for the words, but listening for the nonverbals.
So I'm interested, Joe, do you use the same listening skills in your family life as you do in business?
I wish I'd be a lot better off at home. Oh, okay. So, well, sometimes you try, and sometimes when you get home, you don't want to think anymore. And it was funny. I was just telling this story at lunch that me and my wife had a little kind of a disagreement of some sort, and I started using some of my techniques that I learned back in my HP days. And by the way, the wife and I both worked together, and she goes, "Don't pull that with me. I've been through that training too." So sometimes things backfire on you.
Yep. Have you tried affect labeling her yet, using the stuff out of my book?
Actually, I've been practicing. I'm not great at it yet, but I'm getting better. I'm so lucky. I've been married for 32 years now, and she puts up with me almost no matter what. So I'm extremely lucky, and she's very almost she feels stuff. So she really is in tune with other people much more than I am. And because I have to work at it, she does it just intuitively. So yes, I try it. Am I as good as her? No, but I'm working on it.
Wow, good for you. So what would you tell if you give advice to young people say that are just coming out of college, maybe they're going to go to business school or graduate school, and we live in a very different environment today than when you and I grew up. What kind of advice would you give a young person today about their career and about life in general?
Well, so first of all, identify your passion. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? And put together the plan to get there. You want to earn more, learn more. Life is pretty simple, but money may not be your driving factor. That's okay. Whatever they're your goals, go for it. Now, when I say go for it, put a plan in place. Don't just, okay. I see a lot of businesses. I'll ask them. I say, "Oh, so can I see your business plan?" "Oh, it's right here." And I go, well, and I said, "Unless it's on paper and you can show it to me, it doesn't exist."
So, I mean, you're really telling the young people to do exactly what you tell your more seasoned clients to do, which is plan, think, strategic thinking.
Strategic thinking, put the plan in place, work the plan, and be prepared for the contingencies.
Right.
Because, everybody thinks that you start here and you go here and it's a straight line. It's not. It goes like this.
Yeah.
And you usually get there if you continue to move forward.
Work the plan.
But work the plan, but there's going to be potholes and hurdles and unexpected things, COVID, supply chain issues. But if you've got a good plan, you'll put together contingency plannings to address those things.
If you look back at all the clients you worked with since you quote retired, can you give us a story of somebody who really took your stuff and got really successful?
Yeah. One of them comes to mind. He came in and he was running a $20 million business, and he goes, "I think I better actually turn this into a business because it's been a hobby." And I'm like, "Okay, well, let's start off." And really, he loved what he was doing, but had no structure in place. I mean, no org chart, no roles and responsibilities. He had just gotten there through sheer will. And by the way, he was making about 70,000 a year and struggling with getting that to pay himself.
Wow.
And so as we started diving into first of all, he didn't know how to read a financial statement. So looking at his P&L, he had no idea what he was looking at. So he wasn't looking at them. No processes in place. The goals were revenue goals, not profit goals. Revenue is great, but if you don't have profit, it doesn't matter. And he was spending his time where he wanted to and not delegating the way he should. So when you start with those 4 things, which are boring, but that's the foundation of building a business: time, goal setting, standards, and financials. We put that together, and then he realized, wow, I've got so much more time in my business. And then we get into sales and marketing and optimizing business. In 2.5, almost 3 years, we went from a $2 million valuation to a $22 million valuation. And he was bringing home almost $400,000 a year into his pocket.
That's awesome.
And it was just following the path of building a business that works without you, just like building a house.
Yeah.
And he was willing to learn. He's like, I never read a business book. Well, 2.5 years later, he had read almost all of the books that behind me. And he was like, when I drive, I'm listening to an audio book. And if I like it, I take down the notes and just embrace that. And he actually, at that 22 million, he actually started another business. And so he started 2 others since then. So I'm getting goosebumps. That's what makes things really cool, because the impact that we have when we do something like that is not with him. He had 70 employees, then 130 employees, and with a new company. So we've probably touched 1,000 people and helped improve their lives by doing or I'll speak for myself, by doing what I get the privilege of doing, helping businesses create a profitable business that works without you.
And it's very obvious to me that that is very satisfying and exciting to you.
Hey, there's nothing better than, I had this conversation the other day. Somebody says, well, why do you do what you do? I said, have you ever given somebody a birthday present or a present that they really wanted, and you watch how excited they get and it makes you feel really, really good? That's how I feel every day when I watch somebody get something that we're providing and teaching and learning and helping them achieve their goals.
Wow. That's so impressive. Okay, I got one more question for you. Tell us one thing about yourself that nobody would know unless we asked you.
That nobody would know. Let's see.
Think hard.
I think a lot of people, I'm pretty much an open book. I worked for military intelligence for a while, which is an oxymoron. I was born in France, and everybody knows this, but I love scuba diving. And that's my passion.
You keep your tank in your office.
Well, we're doing some things on how scuba diving is like building a business. Specifically that planning and contingency planning. So that's why I brought it in as a prop.
Wow, that's really cool. Well, we've kind of come to, it's been about 22 minutes. I try to keep these really short. Is there anything else that you can share with my audience and impart some of your amazing energy and wisdom before we call it quits?
Well, if you decide, and by the way, starting a business is not for everybody. Okay. Understand that if you decide to start a business, do your planning, get your business plan together, walk through what you need to do, and get the help you need to get to where you want to go. I've had mentors. I still have two business mentors right now. And they keep me on track. Find the people that are going to help you get to where you want to go and embrace them.
Wow.
Where you're going to be in 5 years depends on 3 things. Those 3 things are the knowledge you gain, books, videos, whatever, the people you associate you with, people like you, Doug, and the actions you take, which means get moving. So if you're going to go do it, do it. Don't wait till you're ready. If you wait till you're ready, it's too late.
Wow. So how do people get in touch with you? My audience is going to watch this and see, hey, I need to talk to this guy.
Well, it'll be my honor and privilege. I'm always a free consultation. You can call 408-899-6737 and have access to my calendar. You can go to brainshare.online. That's brainshare.online. And that's our e-learning system. That's specifically designed for that $1 million, $1.5 million business that want to get to that next level and learn this stuff. And just click schedule an appointment, and I'll talk to you about where your business is and make some suggestions on what steps to take next.
Okay. Joe, I really appreciate you coming on the show. And as always, it's so exciting and fun to be with you. I'm going to be up in the Bay Area in a week or two. Maybe we can, maybe I'll send you an email and see if we can't get set up to say hello.
Yeah, say hello. Let's have some lunch and talk and enjoy things a little bit, because the people you associate with is kind of the direction you go. And it's my honor and privilege to be associated with you, Doug.
Well, thank you, Joe. I feel the same way. See you soon.
You got it.